And you as well. Thank you very much. Now, Greg, first question is, do you wholly accept the outcome of the election? Do you accept the verdict?
Well, of course, I accept the media verdict. I'm not sure it's up to the media. Look, it's been a tradition for the media outlets to call
Yep.
an election, but that's not the law. And so I'm happy to accept that, by all measures, Vice President Biden, if these votes are legal
Yep.
and the vote and the process is clear and it's been verified, or let's say validated, well
Yes.
then of course then the networks are right.
Hmm.
But it's early. I mean, networks, Dan Rather called Florida for Gore at 6 o'clock
Yes.
Eastern time in 2000.
Yeah.
They do make mistakes, and Fox called Arizona for Biden prematurely last week.
Yeah.
Look, it's I don't dispute that that by most traditional measures the votes are looking very good for Biden. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, historically, the only time I can remember when those who deliver the news got it wrong was Dewey, wasn't it? Wasn't Dewey in a headline which said
Dewey beats Truman in
exactly
1948.
Dewey beats Truman 1948. That was an actual headline in a newspaper. Got it wrong.
Chicago Tribune. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. However, I think that the voting systems are far more sophisticated these days, and actually, when you look at the number of seats anyway, if it ends up at 306, and it looks like it's heading that way now, I mean, it really wouldn't matter, would it, about legal challenges at all? That's not going to change that picture of 36 seats in excess of those needed to carry the path into the White House.
Yeah, because he'd have to flip two states with legal challenges, and look, there's no doubt that there's potential funny business, for lack of a better word, in a couple of states. But to flip one is one thing, like Florida in 2000, where there were some particular voter irregularities. They were very very narrow, and that was one state. But to get two now, I mean, I don't know which ones that he would focus on, probably Georgia and Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff going on in Michigan and Wisconsin too. And Mike, I don't want to have to get like granular and I don't have evidence that no one else has seen on TV or in the media, but there's no doubt there was some funny stuff going on.
You say that. I wonder if
Michigan,
funny stuff is going on both sides. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we might find out that like they do a recount, it might actually help Biden. For all I know. But it was kind of intriguing that two states, the five upper Midwestern states behaved very similarly. Like it was odd how Michigan was kind of, they both decided to shut down at 1 a.m. Trump's up 5 points. And then when they reopen 2 or 3 hours later, they find ballots. And again, we all knew that the mail-in ballots were going to favor Biden. There's no doubt that would happen.
Yeah, sure.
But 100% voter participation in Wayne County, which is where Detroit is, they're not exactly known for their civic activity, Mike.
No.
Their civic duty.
I totally agree. I mean, we don't understand the voting system in this country, electoral college and all that. What we really didn't understand, Greg, was how Trump could take such massive leads in many of the states and then suddenly it was all whittled back. Well, that's because you count the mail vote, the postal vote, after the on-the-day vote, don't you? And I wonder whether that's, a really sensible way of doing it.
Yeah, I don't think the president articulated well when he said, I was leading and then, They took the election, after election day. Well, we all knew that was coming.
Yeah.
Now, the smart ones like Florida, Mike, you bring up a good point. Florida started counting mail-in ballots and early voting, even in-person early voting, weeks ago.
Yes.
And they executed this election absolutely perfectly.
They're
like the textbook case of how to run an election.
Yeah. Why didn't all the other states copy that?
Partly because they have Democrat governors, and there's no doubt that that there was some politics involved. Now, Pennsylvania has a state legislature. One of the legislatures is Republican, but they went to the state Supreme Court, which is Democrat in Pennsylvania, and they changed the law, which judges are not supposed to change law. Judges are supposed to opine on the law.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of politics here. And by the way, this isn't the first time. I mean, I'm sure every election has this kind of activity that's suspicious, but it's usually not with such great it's usually not the big ones.
It's not usually advocated to be so great. It's usually a grumble rather than an explosive rant about the outcome of an election. But Greg, listen, thanks very much indeed for talking.
Good to be here, Mike. Thanks for having me.
We may well be talking to you again over the next few hours if you're available. Thank you very much indeed. Very kind of you. Joseph R. Biden Jr. elected 46th President of the United States. Mr. Biden's first comments: I am honoured and humbled by this victory. I will set out to serve the American people who have put their faith in me. So Joe Biden is there now, and I've just been speaking to Greg Swenson, Republicans overseas, a Trump supporter. I think even he sort of indicated that, because of the way the votes are going to add up in the end, 306 for Joseph Biden Jr., you'd have to try and prove hanky-panky in more than one state, and that'll take an awful lot of research, and you'll need an awful lot of evidence, because it's fair to say that Mr. Trump, President Trump, I should say, he'll always remain President Trump, who's the outgoing leader of the United States, hasn't actually produced any evidence so far that there has been any actual interference in the vote which has gone against him and caused a disruption of the outcome.